Well, it's Homebrew Wednesday, number 33. Ooh. Or if you're in Ireland, Dirty Tree. Shut up the 555. Well, it was an interesting weekend, busy weekend. Went to the Sandringham Game and Country Fair on the Sunday. On the Saturday I decided to make my cider, and the Friday I bought the yeast from work to make said cider. I bought the Universal Young's wine and beer yeast because I thought it was handy to keep, just to keep on hand for a quick brew should I get a chance to do another one. It's a jack of all trades yeast, so quite handy. Also the Dominion Hop Mountain Pale Ale, quite hoppy for a pale ale. It's American hops and a New Zealand hop, and it says 4 on the website, but there's actually 3, unless they're confusing Nelson Sauvin as 2 different hops. But even like, it was nice beer, not overly hopped so much that all you do is taste like drinking a grapefruit juice that's alcoholic. You can actually taste the beer. And it is twist off cap, I discovered after fiddling about with the bottle opener, so I can't reuse this one. But I have a hop update and a little snippet of the cider, but I will just open Taxi's Hefeweizen, or his girlfriend's Hefeweizen. She brewed this. He did say she preferred more of a malt taste than so we'll see what that's like. We've chilled it down since last night. I'll let it warm up slightly, and just start this off. It is well carved because this Cooper's Pet bottle is solid. That's the first PET pet bottle I've had. Most useful for future beer mail. She's got a good head pour. I presume this was a kit, I'm not sure, but it looks good. It's well carved. Just picking that up. It is a Carlsberg widgeted glass, so it is helping to maintain that head. I can see the bubbles going down, but there's an equal amount storming back up the top there. We'll go in for a sniff of faint malty aroma. Let that head die down a little bit. Tastes like a heavy. It's that wheaty taste. A slight, not overly sharp, not as sharp as some of the commercial wheat beer, but still very light and refreshing all the same. There is a bitterness to it as well. Slightly different taste. Could be off the froth there still at the minute, but I'm getting a slight fruitiness from it. Can't quite pin down what that would be, describing what that would be, but there's a definite fruit taste and a like sharp grapes, white grapes, sharp white grapes. Not quite as grapey as grapes, but that sort of taste and texture you get on your tongue from grapes. But all the same, it is a jolly good pint. Obviously it's not going to be clear because it's a Hefe. As you can see, the head's maintained. And the carbonation is still going. It's calmed down a little bit, but there's still a good stream coming off of it. Certainly very light, refreshing, slight little tartness there, only just a smidge, just enough what you need. There is a mild light malty taste to it as well. Now that head's calmed down, that is just a nice creamy white cap, which I would say will stay there for some time. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy a bit of that and see what Mrs. Norfolk likes, see what she thinks of it as well. And I'll cut here. You can watch the hop update. It's making the top of my palate dry. Hop update, and I'll show you the cider. Well, nothing much to report with the front garden hop update. You can see the string, the hop. No further growth really on these. No signs of. Oh, we do have a little showing of a flower there, but the weather's on the change. It's now raining now, so we're going to have a look at the pot ones. Well, they look healthier up top. We've got, and the camera focuses as they're moving about. We got some little hops growing, but there is a risk of some ground frosts coming, so the forecast says. I don't think it will be today because it's pissing down with rain, and it has been most of the day. So I haven't got to worry about watering them, but I haven't got up to the house where I'm working yet to see how those are progressing. Hopefully tomorrow's weather will be fine and we can do a little bit of harvesting. I've got something else to tell you about hops as well, so I'll do that in the comfort and warmth of my armchair and a nice glass of beer. Well, see you later. The plan was to turn these into something like this. As you can see, 1600 ml, 1.6 litres of apple juice through a juicer twice to get enough of it out, then through a muslin bag to strain the pulp. That didn't strain out, and I'm left with that to go in there. And I've been quite some time already, so we're going to cheat and use some of this in with it, because if not I shall be here till 10 o'clock at night trying to produce enough natural apple juice to make it. So we'll cut with modern technology and use some of this. Well, that's come out about 10:45 on the hydrometer. I'm not going to mess about with it. I'm just going to chuck some yeast nutrient and some yeast in, let it go for 3 days, and then top her up a little bit and see what happens. Well, so the hops, as I keep saying, too little too late. I think obviously the weather seems to be more in keeping with the season now. It's been overcast Monday, today's Tuesday as I'm filming this. It's been windy. It did say gale force, but it's not got to that level. But yeah, wet and windy and miserable. Typical Britain really, as it should be. None of this sun stuff, we're not used to that. So I don't know what tomorrow brings. It's supposed to be a milder, drier day, but obviously I'm hoping to harvest a few hops tomorrow if the weather's stays dry enough to keep the hops dry. Obviously I don't want to go and pick them and have them go all mouldy. If they're ready anyway, though I think they are ready. They were pretty close last week, but the boss came down on the Wednesday when I done that hop question. I think I done that day, and he was quite intrigued with the hops. and I did suggest I will utilise them for a work-related beer, depending on the success of the drying and use thereof. But he did take a vine section with a few hops on, because he was quite impressed with the size of them, and obviously I managed to keep him happy that I could do the fence up to the hops, leaving the hops intact, go the other side of the garden and fence that bit, and obviously next week being this week now, I could proceed down the other side of the property where there aren't any hops and work my way around, avoiding desecrating the hops until as such time as they're ready for a snippet. Anyway, cutting a long story short, which is unusual for me, he took them to work, showed them to his son, who also co-runs the place, and one of the girls at work happened to notice them on the table in the office. I went in on the Friday, my usual trek home. I pop in and just give him an update and whatnot, and he comes out as I'm talking to the girls in the shop with another little, look at these, look at these. He said, they're not as big as them other one. I said, no. He said, Sharon, the girl at work, got them from her garden. Alright. Apparently 30 something years ago, bear in mind this is only 8 miles up the road from me, but the soil is a lot sandier away from the marshy area where I live. There used to be a field, or a hop garden, or a field full of hops. An old boy owned the land and lived there, because she now occupies the house that he lived in. And he used to grow hops for Green King Brewery. So I presume it's Fuggles and Goldings, which is two of their primary hops they use. Anyway, she says her garden's like Triffid Central for hops. They grow out in the front garden, through the bushes, in the back garden, everywhere. She's got ones that just seem to grow like a bush, ones that go up in a vine. So I could have struck hop gold, provided I can get over there in time to harvest some, or if not, I'm going to have a little bit elbow twisting and a lot of hop rhizomes come next year, assuming that they'll be happy to grow in my heavier clay soil. Lord only knows where I'm going to put them. My garden's full of primarily sheds. We might have to make space for a hop garden. I have got a 30-foot CB tower, so we could get 3 vines growing up that quite happily. And I've got another tower to go up for me beam antenna. So yeah, it could be a bit of Norfolk luck there, striking Goldings and Fuggles, possibly. Anyway, I presume, I'm fairly certain that we're going back 30 plus years. They would have been traditional English hops, with the traditional English berry that Green King are. And I know from looking on their website, primarily it is Goldings and Fuggles that they use in their brewskis, plus whatever I've got. The hops at the house and the ones I'm growing, I don't know whether there's 2 varieties there, 3, or just the one. They all look the same, but then most hops do, unless you really know your onions, or your hops in this case. But pretty interesting. She did bring a few in. They did have a little bit of a smell to them when you broke them up. They did smell not as strong as the ones at the house. The ones at the house seem a little bit more citrusy. I mean, there's no telling what they are. They could be anything. This is why I keep asking if anyone looks at the hop question video and knows about hops. Other than that, I'm not really. The only thing to do is I've got various hops. Is to do a smash beer in a demijohn. and just dry hop each demijohn with, or break them down in. I've got some little half-gallon demijohns just to break the work down and do a commercial. That one's got fuggles in, that one's got goldings in, whatever, and then do a dry hop of the unknown varieties and see if they taste similar. That's all I can think of. The other thing is, obviously I haven't got a vacuum packing machine, and they are ridiculously expensive in the UK. I keep looking on eBay, but they're all £70 upwards for a new machine. There aren't many second-hand ones come up, and usually if they are the second-hand ones, they're probably ones someone's decided to sell because they're crap. Found one in Argos. That's still 60 quid, which obviously is a lot of expenditure just to seal some hops in a bag. So I've just bought the self-seal ones and do it the old school method. Suck the air out with a straw and seal them up, chuck them in the freezer, and hope for the best and use them first. But yes, we could have been lucky and gained some extra hoppies for next year, if not this year. If I can get a harvest out of them this year, if I'm lucky enough, I've got time to get over and the weather's favourable to harvest them, or we aren't too late, or anything else that can go wrong. But worst case scenario is I go there when they've died back and dig a little bit up from various areas and pot them out in compost pots and keep them semi-covered so they don't flood out in the winter. Plant them out next year and see what we got. So we could have a whole hop extravaganza next year. But, if you've watched my other video of the Game and Country Fair I went to on Sunday, I did find one of the beer tents. I don't know whether it was the brewery or just they were supplying local cask ales. It was a brewery called Tid Steam, which aren't too far away from me, in Tid St Giles, I think it is. So I did look on the website and have a look. I had a beer called Barn Ale. Obviously wordplay on Barn Ale. If you see that video, you'll see their sign with the different ales they do, and if the dog keeps still from underneath a tripod, it won't look like I'm having an earthquake. Grant Baker style. I think she's asleep again. So yeah, I might pencil him in on a future. Hello, any chance I can come around and do a video? There's a few small breweries within sort of 15-20 mile radius of where I am, which I would, you know, again it's a time thing, is to get on the phone and build up a rapport with some of these people, and you know, go down and do a brewery visit and a one-on-one tour. Hopefully I can do a few of those with some of the local breweries. I do have the advantage that the people I work for sell most of the local beers in their shop, so at least I can say, you know, do a bit of name dropping to get me foot in the door, as it were. But my weekend away is booked for the end of the month, so I've just got to sort out phoning up. Obviously it's just the general tour I'll be going around, and not a specialist one-on-one tours. But I'm hoping to do St Peters and Adnams brewery tours. Failing that, obviously Woodford's is not too far away, and there are some other smaller breweries, Humpty Dumpty and people like that. So you might be able to achieve something in between, keeping the missus happy with shopping around Lowestoft or somewhere. Wonderful. Anyway, I can't really think of much else. It's just the cider. I nearly got the wine done, Joan. Nearly got the wine done, but just didn't. You've got 50 demijohns in the shed. I've got 5 in here, and they're all caked in dust. And I'd had enough after the saga with the cider, spending hours with the apple peeling, because there was a very pronounced apple skin taste with the first test with the juicer. So I decided to peel the bulk of them, and then slice them up so they'd fit in the dicing section of the juicer, and then shred them, and did make a huge difference as to the amount of juice I extracted by peeling them. Not in a good way. It took away, I should think, about 40%. The rest of them I put in, just rinsed and peeled, or chopped them up. I didn't peel them. Put them in, and I got nearly as much out of the second batch of apples as I did doing the whole lot with sort of like a dozen apples. But it was just taking so long. And when I was at the game fair, there was a Norfolk cider company there with their old oak press, which looks 100+ years old, made out of huge oak beams, and an apple scritter for mashing them up, which is really the key thing, I think, is to be able to mash the apple up first before you press it. I have seen little fruit presses and things at the auction before. There was one there, and I thought, ooh, if it's the right money, I'll buy the press and the scritter. And I think they had about £100 reserve on them. And there's a guy there I know, and he's one of these. He will just keep bidding and bidding until he wins it. So unless you want to burn a hole in his pocket out of spite, there's no point in sort of going into a bidding war. And I knew what they would get second hand on the eBay sort of market, and he paid 265 quid for them, I think. Knowing what I know, maybe not the same brands, but the same equipment you could buy new for that sort of money. And I have noticed last week they were on eBay and they'd only just got up to what he paid for them. So I don't think he's going to be walking away with a big profit on them. I know Machine Mart local Till Catalogue, they do a little press. It's a fruit press, they say, though, not a cider press. But anyway, I wouldn't really go into that. I've only got the one tree. Not really practical unless I picked up something ridiculously cheap, or could drop on the sort of outer grate and the pressing panel, because I have got a 20-ton workshop press for pushing bearings out of brake drums and things like that, which obviously I could probably put an extending pole on it and drop it down on its lowest level if you could fit a steel bucket or some tube in with slots in it to extract the juice, and a tray. It'd have to obviously be a steel tray so it didn't get crushed under the weight of the press. So if I could drop on something, I could probably, you know, Heath Robinson a press up, but not really going to worry about cider. But we got, what was it, 1600ml of cider, and just topped it up with the juice I was going to use for a hopped cider. And my son's pinched the rest of the apple juice and drunk it. So. But it is still smelling very much of real apples rather than processed apple juice, so it'll be interesting. I don't know, I'm not going to hop it, I'm going to leave it as a cider just to see what it tastes like. But I'm not quite sure on whether to do it as still or sparkling. I think the favourite is to go for sparkling on it, because I prefer a lightly carbonated cider. I think, you know, when it sits in the glass it doesn't taste too vinegary too soon, unless you're guzzling it down quick. But yeah, I think there was something else I was going to say, but I cannot remember what it was. So it'll keep for another Homebrew Wednesday. Cheers, taxi. Cheers to Dave the Welsh brewer for my last lot of Homebrew beer mail. As soon as I get my stocks up to a few guys who are sending me stuff, I will reciprocate once we're got a bit of space and time to get back onto a full brewing schedule. I have got some grains that need using up, so I do want to get, well, I think there's at least 3 or 4 all grain batches I want to do, because I've got enough grains to do 3 or 4, plus I think I've got the odd kit or 2. And obviously there's this Uncle Jonah 1 can kit challenge thing. So I've got to see what he's doing with that. I could cheat and use that one over there, because that didn't cost me anything, but then it wouldn't be fair to everyone else. But anyway, I'm waffling again, and I've got beer to drink and onion rings to eat and videos to watch, and maybe even a movie. And I should have sorted out a little bit more of this room. All I've done is move the crates and made some space for more crap. Anyway, I'm going. Catch you later.